Approve the board minutes from May 8th. All those in favor?
Aye.
And then I also need someone to make a motion to approve the board retreat minutes from May 29th.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Board member comments. Let's start with Mr. Sultan.
I just wanted to mention the board retreat and how well done it was. It must have taken a lot of staff effort, and I would like to compliment staff on the results. I would also like to compliment the sergeant at arms for keeping the meeting moving, Mark. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Sultan. Mr. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be a little loquacious today, if you'll indulge me, since I'm usually fairly brief in my comments. And I do want to talk about the retreat and some of the things that I took away from the retreat. First of all, to all those presenters, the presentations were exceptional. I think the info was very succinct. The delivery was crisp, was chock full of very good info, well prepared, and also you were prepared to answer all the questions that we threw at you. Communication is key, and I thank you for keeping the board informed and up to date. Well done. And I'll tell you a quick story. At the reception afterwards, I was talking to Brian, and I was mentioning our afternoon session, which just had an open session. And I said, what would you have done if people didn't talk? It didn't start, it wasn't a conversation starter and people didn't talk. And he said, well, we had 2 or 3 items in the back pocket that in case they didn't sue. There you go. There's an example of being prepared just in case. Of course, the board as always has something to say. The other thing I want to say is the 2 themes that I took away from not just the retreat, but just overall in the time that I've been on the board. And those 2 themes are innovation and service. And, as I was listening, I hear what things that I heard as far as innovation was, how to continue to deliver a very good product in the most efficient way possible. Thinking ahead, how can we do things better? How can we improve? Clean water is taken for granted, at least in this country. And I was thinking back to my time as a finance guy in banking. I spent many years working with aerospace and defense companies and financing them. And I remember this probably goes back to the 90s when the airline industry was really ramping down on cost and trying to squeeze costs out of their subcontractors. One of those subcontractors is General Electric. They make jet engines for commercial and military aircraft. And what they do is they subcontract out to many different machine shops and so forth who make all the components that go into these engines. And one year I was out and visiting a customer in Terre Haute, Indiana, very large machine shop, very been in business a long time. And they were getting squeezed to cut costs. So they went through a Kaizen exercise. You've ever heard of that, but Kaizen is a Japanese mentality or process that it does continuous improvement in performance and productivity, and it's improvement at a reasonable cost. Toyota and Honda practice that, especially Toyota, meaning that there's constantly little improvements here and there, which over time add to very large improvements in performance and productivity. And it was funny because I was on the factory floor and I was asking the workers there, and I said, how was that? And I said, well, it was good and bad. It was kind of a pain, but actually they made a lot of changes, but very small changes, which really increased efficiency and decreased cost. So I kind of think you're sort of doing that on your own. And I appreciate that. The other thing is, you act like you have competitors. You act like there's competitors knocking at the door. And, in effect, you are a public company because all of what you do is through FOIA is exposed for anyone to see. And I think that's a great, healthy attitude to have. You don't have competitors, but you act like you do. The other item or other observation I had with service. You know, you sort of, in a way, you have a thankless job. The only time you hear from people is when there's a problem. You never hear people coming up and saying, you know, thanks, great job, we appreciate it. It's kind of, as I said before, it's kind of taken for granted what you do. In a way, you know, when I was doing work on the Educational Development, Economic Development Advisory Committee, and talking to companies who were thinking of locating to Loudon, of course, they're looking for safety, healthcare, schools, amenities, cost of living, transportation, the usual things you'd expect someone coming from another part of the country, another part of the world to look at. They don't ask about water. They don't ask about the effluent. Nobody asks about that. It's kind of, that's kind of a given. But if our customers could see what you all do and the dedication you have, I think they'd be really very, very appreciative. And you deliver that at a reasonable cost. So in effect, you're acting like a first responder. We always say to our first responders, be they military personnel or police or fire or EMTs, what have you. Thank you for your service. So I thank all of you for your service and what you do to this community. Clean water is expected, effluent cleanup is expected, but you do it so well and do it in such an efficient manner, always looking for a way to improve. And I say this having been on the board since 2013, so I've got a long history. And really what you do is a 24/7 job. You never close. Whether it's Broad Run, Trap Rock, out in the field, or here at headquarters, you're all in this together and you all do a marvelous job. And I thank you for what you do. And on behalf of the community, I thank you as well. And lastly, I'd say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. That's all I have, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
That's it?
That's it.
All right.
That's it. I'll be brief in my audit committee comments, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Very well said.
It was well said, and I echo those comments and enjoyed the board retreat as well. And thank you all for all the preparation that went into that and all the good discussion. Today is my 20th anniversary. In the last 20 years, I've only had 2 meetings, this being the second, where I had a public meeting that fell on my anniversary. And both times my wife was kind enough to attend the meeting with me, and she's back there. I won't embarrass her too much. But well, you know, my kids are old enough now that they can kind of fend for themselves. But I met Corey in 2003. She's kind of a throwback. She was born in Hamilton, raised in Hamilton, lived her entire life in the same house until I married her. I met her in 2003 when she had just come out of high school at a coffee shop and in Percival. I was living in Percival at the time. And 2 years later, we got married, and now it's been 20 years, and we've had 6 children. Our oldest is 18, and then they all kind of go down to 8 is the youngest. But she's been a wonderful wife and a wonderful mother, and so really glad to hang out with her. We'll just go and have a little dinner tonight, and that's it. Nothing too fancy. But and I said, you know, I've been on this board. This is the 9th year I've been on this board. I said, have you ever been in the building? Have you ever been? No, I haven't. I said, well, you got to come. It's so fun. So anyhow, thanks for coming, love.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Thank you, Corey, for attending. And Mr. Vega, you have to follow that. So
Strap seatbelts on for the fun that you're about to have. No, I also want to thank staff again for the thorough job that they all did on each item presented to the board at the retreat. I also want to recognize we and the Development and Construction Services Department for their industry outreach efforts to host a training forum to provide an overview and the walkthrough of our process for submittal packages and construction permits. The forum will be held on July 16th from 10 to 11:30. And I believe this is an important effort to continue a high level of engagement with developers who, according to the financial highlights of our 2024 annual comprehensive financial report, helped increase our net position by adding nearly $148 million of infrastructure deeded to Loudon Water. So thank you.
thank you,
That's
Mr.
it.
Vega. Mr. Yudd.
Thank you, Chair Allen. Just a couple of things. I've got a really good anniversary story. I will share that with Mr. Campbell and Mrs. Campbell later. Completely missed the anniversary and forgot about it. But I hope everybody is having a great summer and happy Father's Day to everybody. Congratulations to our staff who was involved in the Luckett's wastewater special exception and commission permit. Went through public hearing last night in front of the Board of Supervisors. Real quickly, it not many questions, if any, but looked like a really solid piece of work from both the general services staff and the Loudon Water experts who were involved. So congrats on that. We did have a very good joint finance committee audit committee, and I think our esteemed chair will comment on that a little bit later. Very good observations from the auditor about the 2024 report and progress. So very interesting to listen to. And then we also had the comprehensive annual financial report. Conversation about that was very thorough, but also comments about how do other people see the reports that we prepare and what do they mean to other people when we spend so much time on it. And obviously our staff and our consultant team get involved in all that as well. But great discussion. In terms of the retreat, similar comments. Thank you to the staff. It was incredible. I'm sorry I had to leave for a little bit of it, but to Brian and to Jewel and to Gabby for like running it and helping it stay on track. Excellent. But I do want to recognize all of our professional staff, and this is from the record of the meeting. And so Mike, Tom L., Andrew, Darren, Alton, Sue, Kendra, Pam, Jessica D., Jessica E., Tom C., Bradley, thank you so much. It was really informative, and I think it showed a new light on collaboration between the board, the questions that the board has, the important topics that we raise. And when I looked to the right of the room and saw all of the technical experts and bench strength, and you're all, I think most of you are here today, it was really impressive. And to be able to engage with us and be mindful of our questions and patient with our questions and introspective at the same time, I was really, really grateful for it. Honestly, totally unvarnished appreciation. I will also say that later in the day when we had our social hour, it was a great chance to really talk with the staff, with some of the staff members about what brought them to their career. And then it was pretty apparent that everybody has a story about water, and recognizing, to pick up on Mr. Kelly's comments, the great responsibility that staff has for the 24/7 operation, the responsibility that we have as stewards of the organization, but how important and fundamental water is to everybody. And being called to where all of us are right now, such an honor and responsibility, and so grateful to staff for that. So thanks a lot. I think the last thing I had was today when we talk about, when we get to the financial report, I guess I have a bunch of questions for Sally as usual, so I'll hold that. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Yod. Mr. Buffington is not here with us today. He's not online, so he will not be making any comments. So on to Mr. Bonfils.
My comments will be really short. Congratulations on the anniversary. First off, thank you. That's good. Sean, your comments were right on. I appreciate that. And I'm going to wish everybody a happy Father's Day, and I'll end it there.
Thank you, Mr. Bonfils. Mr. Moody.
Yes, I would like to also comment on the board retreat and also echo everyone's sentiments. For me, though, one thing incredible about the board retreat is your preparedness for doing the presentations. I often give presentations day in and day out for my business. And one of the things for me, a good presentation, not just the delivery of the first line of information, but your ability to respond to the secondary line of questioning, and in some cases, a third level of questioning. Everyone was really prepared, professional, and for you to be able to respond that way, that means you must have thought of other questions that we didn't ask. So that preparedness definitely showed. I'm sure you were anticipating other questions that didn't come up, but from my perspective, it seemed like you were well prepared. So thank you so much for all your efforts, as well as all the efforts in coordinating the activities. Once again, I'd like to congratulate Brent and his wife, and also happy Father's Day to all the fathers in the room.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. It's tough to follow all those comments. You know, you guys, I was trying to think of one thing you didn't mention, but you pretty much hit them all. But obviously, happy Father's Day and happy anniversary day. That's great news. The only thing I will add to the retreat was like, you know, the plant staff was great taking us around. It's always nice to interact, and they seemed really enthusiastic, which is, I mean, they all had smiles on their face and they really want to teach everything that we asked. So that was really great. And then I thought having the guest speaker was great. I thought Joe Gicangelo was fantastic, and I really like having somebody, you know, some outside person coming in, even though he's a Loudoun County native. It's just nice getting a different perspective. And then also he reinforced, you know, Loudon Water's image out there in the industry, which was nice to hear, because we talk amongst ourselves all the time, but it's nice to hear somebody else talk about it. So that was great. And then obviously, Brian, your leadership is fantastic. And when you were making your comments, I was thinking about, you know, every Loudon Water has been kind of different, whether when it was, you know, Carla running it or when it was Dale running it. And it's kind of taking on a new sort of entity in and of itself with the new leadership and everybody moving up. So it's good to see the organization mature and grow and become almost a different entity. So congratulations to Brian and to all the senior staff. So thank you very much for a great retreat, and we're looking forward to next year. But next year we want an explosion or a helicopter or something big. We've had those in the past. They've been kind of tame this year, but thank you. All right, we got through that. General Manager's report, Mr. Carnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few comments for you today. Loudon Water publishes an annual consumer confidence water quality report each year as a requirement under the Safe Drinking Water Act. The report provides information about where our water comes from, what's added, how it's treated, tests that are performed, information on fluoride and quality evaluation. Customers receive notices with their bills by July 1st each year with a link to the current water quality report. Participated in the Loudoun County Environmental Commission's annual environmental forum held on May 22nd. Staff had a booth and we shared information about our services and answered questions from attendees. ERCs through May totaled 3,484. A few reminders for you. Loudon Water is closed next Thursday, June 19th, in observance of the Juneteenth holiday. Your Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 25th at 8 a.m. and your CIP Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June 26th at 8 a.m. Those are all my comments today.
Thank you, Brian. Jewel, has anyone signed up for public comment? Okay. Onto the agenda. Can someone make a motion to adopt the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Board committee action, CIP, Mr. Sultan.
Well, I'd like to wish you a happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
I don't want to tell you how many years I've been. I'll make this as quick as possible. The first item on that the CIP committee discussed was approval of study task order, Central System Electrical Shock and Corrosion. This task order will review all of the locations where existing metal infrastructure crosses or parallels high voltage power. The task will create a model providing any mitigation necessary for existing infrastructure co-located lines and provide recommendations for future co-located lines. I don't know if there's a word co-located, but there. The CIP committee recommended approval of a task order for the electrical shock and corrosion study to RK&K for $287,561 with an approximated 5% contingency for total authorized budget of $301,940 to be included on the board consent agenda. This is a pretty important item for the safety of our people. The next item is approval of design services task order, Luckett's wastewater treatment plant upgrades. This task order is for the design and land use permitting for the Luckett's wastewater treatment plant upgrades and will include preparing plans and specs for the process equipment, structural and electrical components. The CIP committee recommended for approval of a task order for the Luckett's wastewater treatment plant upgrades to Carollo Engineers for $255,606 with an approximate 5% contingency for a total authorized budget of $277,000 to be included on the board consent agenda. The last item is approval of contract award service task order Milestone Reservoir. Black and Beach has been providing CMR professional advisor advice and has supplemented Loudon Water staff resources for the Milestone Reservoir and Pump Station project. Their contract provided this service throughout the construction phase, utilizing individual task orders to allow staff to adjust the scope and cost as the project progresses. The CIP committee recommended approval of the task order, which will cover service through the end of 2026 for $1,885,555 to be included on the board consent agenda. And I'd like to thank the contractor for straightening out the bike path. There's no longer, it's going straight. The last item is, there was a capital spending summary report, and spending through April 2025 was 105% of forecast. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Sultan. Chair Kelly,
Thank
Audit
you.
and Finance Joint Meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a joint finance audit committee meeting on the 29th of May. We had visitors from Young, Howard and Barber who were here to talk about the 2024 audit. Brad Tomlinson and Brian Newland were here and getting a presentation about the audit. Audit went quite well this year. The audit preparation and so forth was a little bit compressed due to the SAP S/4HANA implementations. They wanted to get that done quickly. Compliments to Sally Deller and the team in finance. As usual, a bang-up job for having prepared and ready for the auditors to come in. They're always very complimentary of Loudon Water being prepared and being able to answer questions and so forth. And they were able to issue an unmodified opinion for 2024 results. In addition, YHB completed a single audit for federal funds received in 2024 as required by federal regulations. That will be filed, and this is our fourth. Is that our fourth or third? Third single. We'll have another one again this year probably. And those are, if you recall, those are Fed funds that are received by the authority. We have to report, have our auditors to take a look at and make sure that the money is spent in accordance with what the grant was or whatever. Most of the grant was FEMA money, I think this time. Is that right? Yeah. And then Sally presented a draft of the 2024 annual comprehensive financial report. That was, I won't go through the details since that's on the agenda for today, but I will point out that the operating revenue increase was due primarily, 80% of that increase was due primarily to the compensation related to an easement agreement that we received. And then we had the usual financial monthly summary, and everything is pretty much on track. But yeah, a very good meeting, as Mr. Yudd mentioned, a very good meeting. Nice to see that we have a clean, unmodified opinion. And I will say, you'll see the annual comprehensive report a little bit later. It was extremely well done. Just a wonderful looking report. Of course, it had all the right financial information, but in addition, it had a very nice looking report. So that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. I would add that they always have really good pictures in the annual report. I like pictures,
Yeah.
so that one didn't go over too well. All right. Consent agenda. There's 3 items that Mr. Sultan referred to, all on consent from the CIP. Can someone make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Action items, election of board chair by Mr. Wilburn.
Yeah, today we elect our key officers, our chair, our vice chair, and our treasurer, whose terms would otherwise expire July 1st. We'll follow our normal process for each role. We begin with a nomination of a candidate to be followed by a second to support the nomination, and then a vote by the board to confirm the nomination. So we'll start with the position of chair. Is there a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Terry Allen.
A second.
Anyone else want to nominate somebody, right?
Any other nominations? If not, I'll have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Next position is vice chair. Is there a nomination for that position?
Nominate Brent.
Second.
Okay, any other nominations? Hearing none. Do we have a vote?
Aye.
Okay, the last position is secretary. Do we have a nomination for that post?
That's Jewel. I nominate
Jewel.
Jewel Lilly.
Second.
And a vote?
Aye.
There's one more.
Well, we don't. The way your bylaws work, only those three key positions have to be voted on each year. You and the assistant secretary, treasurer and assistant secretary serve at the pleasure. So once you're voted in, unless we change the position, it doesn't require a new vote.
You don't want to rubber stamp it? No.
We can do more votes if you'd like. We don't need-
All right, we'll leave it up to you. Okay.
Okay.
The next item on the action agenda, well, first of all, thank you, obviously, before we continue for nominating me to serve another term. I appreciate it
Did you want to
greatly.
serve another term?
It's too late now. Year goes by fast.
I think I just want to
It's
make a
amazing.
comment that you were voted in because you're doing a damn good job,
Yeah.
as well as Brent.
Thank you.
And I
Thank you, Marty.
think we need
Yeah,
to
appreciate it.
You're only as good as your board, so I thank you guys for the support, and I think we have a great board, and I think things are going really well, which kind of scares me, so let's knock out wood a little bit, but
Well, in fairness to you, Mr. Koblis left us hanging a little bit, and Terry's on other boards too and sharing other things. So it really was kind of you to step up, and you've done a great job as well. So I wanted to
well,
echo that.
staff makes it easy, so thank you. All right, the next item on the action agenda is I want to call it the CAFR, but it's the after by Sally. Now, we had a pretty thorough presentation on this, so we can go through it relatively quickly. It's mainly for the people, the CI people who weren't involved, but I still think we need to go through it nonetheless.
There you go. Thanks. And you can just kind of flip through. So you'll see that the beautiful pictures were done by Sue Crosby's team in communication. And this year it's focusing on the stormwater and reservoir park and how it was designed to flow into the reservoir. So great pictures through there. There are three main sections to our ACFR. So we have the introductory section, the financial section, and then the statistical section. So the last section is not audited, but that's where the reader can find out trends and our debt capacity ratios and demographics. If you flip through the next, you'll see like our org chart and your pictures. There you are. There's our certificate of achievement, and we will submit that again once the motion passes to hopefully receive that again for this year's audit. And then just some financial highlights. Once we get to page 22 and 23, our statements of net position, you'll see that our assets exceeded our liabilities by 2.1 billion. The majority of that is our investment in capital assets. Moving down, net position increased to 147.8 million. There's he's now at our letter, so that's the unmodified opinion from the auditors, and then we'll get into the statements. Operating revenues did increase approximately 42% when compared to prior year, and 80% of this was due to the compensation from an easement agreement. Operating expenses increased 1.5 million, and that was primarily due to contractual services, which are the purchases of our wholesale water and wastewater. Non-operating revenues increased 7.1 million, and that was an increase in contributions to and from government. And then just some other highlights. Average yield on investments was 3.43% for the year. Customer growth was more than budgeted projections. We ended up with 5,940 ERCs versus the 2,918 projection. And then total principal and interest paid on revenue bonds was 19.1 million. And outstanding bonds as of the end of the year were 177.7 million. And then once this is approved by the motion, we're not done yet. We have to file this report with all of our bondholders, our banks, anyone we hold a loan with, and also file for the GFOA certificate, and then just certify on the, our single audit. We have to go online and certify that so that that's posted for public review also. Happy to answer any other questions that you may have if that was quick enough for you.
Does anybody have any questions
Just one comment, sir.
or comments?
I do want to note that the Government Finance Officers Association awarded Loudoun County Sanitation Authority a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting for the annual comprehensive financial report for the year ended December 31st, 2023. This is the 37th consecutive year that the authority has received this prestigious award. Government Finance Officers Association awards a certificate of achievement to financial reports that clearly convey the financial position and results of operations of the governmental entity. The report must be easy to read, thorough, and efficiently organized, in addition to satisfying GAAP and applicable legal requirements. So congratulations to the staff, Brian and Sally, and staff again.
And thank you, Mr. Kelly, for chairing the audit committee. I know it's an exciting job,
It is.
um, but we appreciate.
I wish we could meet more often.
Chair, I have it's not really a question, but it was some comments. The summary points that we get in the staff report and the memo that comes with the item is really helpful, because if you're asking somebody on the off chance any of us got asked, well, what's going on with revenues, you can see that percentage increase and what it's attributed to really. And I think for members to read that and feel comfortable with it is helpful. Just because if you look at the report and someone were to read through it, you're looking like, well, those people, obviously they're doing something right. But it's not all attributed to what you would call perhaps regular anticipated revenue, just given the influx of cash from a transaction. So I thought that was great. And then whenever you're ready, I will be glad to make a motion.
Mr.
Just
Bonfils.
one follow-up comment on that is, if you were to do a word search on easement, the footnote is noted 4 times about what that revenue was. And I'm really glad that it's in there more than once. Could have just been at the bottom, but it's in there 4 times, and appreciate that in case someone asks us, and someone has asked. So it's a good place for it to be. So thank you.
No, I think it's good to familiarize yourself with those notes. Mr. Baker.
And express our gratitude to our general counsel for helping us navigate that
Oh, yeah.
entire easement journey.
Yeah.
That's true. All right. With seeing no other questions, would someone read the motion? Does anyone have it in front of them?
There it is.
Second.
Aye.
All right. New business, none. Information items. We're on to the monthly report, none. We're on to monthly reports, finance summary by Sally Deller.
Which is above the forecast of 39 million. Non-operating revenues totaled 49 million, which is above the forecast of 15 million. And that's due to those data center connections that we had expected in 2024 that rolled into 2025. Operating and non-operating expenses are below forecast by 5.1 million. And then thanks. There's our ERCs there. I did add the adjusted line, taking out those 2024 connections that rolled in just to give us a baseline till I can get to mid-year review and update that. The capital spending plan, that was addressed, but it totals 190.4 million, and we've spent 42.6 million through April. And then in April, cash and cash equivalents and investments was 428 million, and the weighted average yield was 3.7331. Yeah, there's your breakout of the components of our availability fees. The blue is our data center. And then there's our capital spending plan. And then the last page will show you the breakout in growth and non-growth. So who's paying for what, user fees versus availability fees. Happy to answer questions.
Mr.
Are
Young,
these the same figures that we went over at Finance Committee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
it's interesting too to see, the pay it forward January ERCs, how each month now we're substantially below. So I wonder when we'll actually have a month that matches the previous year's month. Thank you, Sally. Water Resource Management Report by Jessica Edwards Brandt. I mean, we've had some rain lately. so-
Yes. I can quickly just run through. The statuses didn't change for the surface waters, or the advisory statuses didn't change between April and May. But we have had a significant amount of rain. And so the Potomac River has been running pretty high. We also shut down the Potomac River Pump Station and Trap Rock during these high, these rain episodes because of the sediment loading. And so it helps with our solids production at our facility. So you can see the Potomac River flows. So the good news here is that we did see a decrease in the departure of our rainfall average. And so we went from, I think it was -8 in April to, I think it says -5 there or something close to that. But I am happy to also report that looking at that same data today, we're only at about a 2-inch deficit.
Wow.
So far in June. So that's good news for us. Nothing changed with our regional coordination. I believe they're having a drought coordination meeting sometime in the next couple of weeks. So we should be able to report out on that next month. And everything else looks good.
Jessica, when we shut down the intake on the Potomac because of turbidity, how long are we down typically? Is it a day, 2 days?
It can vary. We try and just bring the plant back up online after the turbidity has we've sort of established our own comfortable threshold. So after it gets to a certain level, then we will bring the plant back online unless there's an emergency and we need to put it online.
Is it days or weeks?
It's days. It's
Days,
just days.
okay.
Usually it's around, it can vary between 1 to 2 to 5 days.
Okay.
We don't usually go longer. We would prefer not to go longer than 5 days.
All right. Mr. Campbell?
I was actually going to ask the same question, but when we shut it down, do we just have enough capacity in the clear wells and whatever, or are we just tapping directly into Fairfax?
Right into Fairfax, yes.
Okay. So there's not that much water in the clear wells, or we don't have that much capacity. once
No,
we
it
shut
wouldn't last
down.
us the
Yeah.
full day. Right.
Okay.
Jessica, I don't know if this question is directly for you, but it's related to groundwater. And at the retreat, we were talking about monitoring of community systems. Additional monitoring is necessary. Watch things as they go. So we had a water system and wastewater system master planning authorization a couple months ago. The same firm that got awarded the Luckett's wastewater treatment plant is doing that work for us. I think I asked at the time, does that include just the central service area, or is that for community systems as well? And I think the answer was, it's just for the central system area.
That's correct.
So what planning, are we doing any planning? And I didn't get the chance to ask this during that period of the retreat because we were trying to wrap up our questions. Do you know, or does someone know, is there any additional master planning for the rural area that focuses on groundwater resources, sort of related to the other conversation that we had later in the day?
Yeah, we did a I guess, community systems master plan a couple of years ago. And it was centered around, our resources sustaining the development that's been proposed. So it really didn't look outside of any new development coming in, but it was like, I don't know, a to-do roadmap on if we see wells diminish, what's our steps, what's our processes for bringing new ones in. And that complements some of our ongoing, I guess, operational efforts, like our groundwater monitoring program that we do with Emory Garrett. That's some of the data you see in this report, and just our overall operation reporting to the state.
Okay, and thank you for that. There was some discussion about prior studies that have been done regionally. And I was wondering at the retreat, we had a conversation. I was wondering if we could, if someone has compiled those or could otherwise make those available somewhere.
Yes, actually, Mark and Jewel were coordinating those, I believe, today. I don't know if they're published at the moment, but they will be tomorrow at the latest. They're posted now. Yes, yes. So if you go into the retreat agenda now, you'll find all the presentations and the reports. Yes, that just happened. Yep.
Thank you.
You-
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. Anyone else have any questions for the Water Resource Monthly report? All right, the next item is the water and sewer agreements by WeTran. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Tran? Mr. Vega, I always look at you.
I just want to say that $148 million worth of infrastructure was received last year from just this report.
There you go. It's kind of hard to argue with those numbers. All right. With that, that wraps up our open session of the meeting. We do have a closed session, but I want to thank everyone for attending, especially Mrs. Campbell.